Alrighty. Buckle up, guys, because we got a long one today. In fact, get your drinks now. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to attempt to try out Shadow Knight Pyllis with Rocket Punch. And I really didn't think that this was going to work out so well, because I figured if you were going to utilize Rocket Punch, you might have needed to have some form of like crit and crit damage. But like the cool thing about Pyllis is the longer the fight goes, the more defense she gets. And then you will eventually just have death buff at almost all times, depending on really how long the fight's been going. And it really kind of starts to add up. So it doesn't look super apparent in this fight, because this fight in particular, this guy does something actually rather interesting. He's Senya is actually on Holy Sack. I didn't know that. And quite frankly, I didn't really see it coming. So he was going to try and utilize the Senya to like do a bunch of debuffs to get them to hit into her, and then was going to use the death of the Senya to also give like more boosts to the Ravi. So like, okay, it's not really that bad of a strategy. It kind of can really work, by the way. But like, if you know what she has, you can really counterplay it like really bad. Like, especially if you know it's Holy Sack, you could go in with like extinction shenanigans. Like straight up, if I brought Arunka here, I would have done, well, pretty bad things to her. The only issue is I really wouldn't have seen a good opportunity to use Arunka. Like, that's the only reason why, like, the team I have here is what I have. And to those of you who paid attention to the last time whenever I really brought this up, if you look at that positioning, yeah, the Sylvan Sage is in the back row, and that's for a reason. It's so that we can really control who has the barrier at all times whenever we're in a safe position. And it actually does come up a fair bit. Especially whenever the A Ravi's like the last one on the field. And then, yeah, the one who gets the barrier at almost all times is going to be Sylvan Sage. And yeah, we're very safe. So if that Senya was actually rocking Dawn Spear, or Spear of a New Dawn, however you really want to call it, Senya's artifact, I think this team would have been much more threatening. Just because there could have been an actual chance of that Senya killing my my Sylvan Sage because of how the damage is calculated. Because with Dawn Spear, it does damage, and then like at the end of your turn, then it does more damage, or like the additive damage to it. And I'm pretty sure that bypasses like Sylvan Sage's like little focus mechanic, because I think that's like the main reason why like Rimuru can still just delete Sylvan Sage. Feel free to correct me on that if I'm wrong, because, guys, it may come as a shock to a lot of you, but I'm really stupid. Like shockingly so. I may not appear that I am, but I'm very dumb. In fact, you will definitely notice how dumb I am whenever we get to the second round. Not the second round of this particular person, but when we get to the second round of the next fight. So, what we're doing here, and it's actually like being very surprising, just how effective Rocket Punch is really being. Like right there, that just did like an extra 3k, just because the match has been going on for quite a bit. And like, hey, Pyllis has has a death buff, and she also just has her S2, which just straight up gives her more defense as she takes hits, which is really awesome. About the only thing that I would really love if Pyllis had, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, is just if she had like some better form of like cleansing. For example, like if she could cleanse 2 debuffs instead of just 1. But I mean, I think that's asking quite a bit. Or if there was some kind of cleanse ability that was on Roana, but like once again, I think that's asking for quite a bit. Because I really do feel like if Roana gets a form of cleansing, SG needs to be very careful with how they dole out a buff like that, because I think she would easily become one of, if not the best Soul Weaver in the game. One thing that would be kind of cool is if she could perhaps revive the dead, not just apply revive buff, but once again, that is extremely dangerous. that could very easily just be hyper broken. So, I know I've talked a lot of cash money shit in the past whenever it comes to using Dark Corvus with 2 Soul Weavers. And I mean, I didn't say it was bad. I just straight up said I don't like doing it. But whenever I fight this RGB setup, I ain't even gonna sugarcoat it. I fucking hate Ran. I hate Ran, I hate Mercedes, I hate Rimuru. Hey, let's put them all together. This is just RNG City. And I fucking despise it. So, I didn't know this, but yeah, both of the Rans in the GuildWar today that I ended up fighting, neither of them had RNL. They were both rocking, I believe, Silver Rain. Which, if I knew that, I probably would have gone into this a lot more aggressive. I looked at that, I saw the team, and I just immediately had a bad feeling. Now, my bad feeling was not on this team. I actually had a fair amount of luck going into this. For starters, the Ran S3 did absolutely nothing. Because, like, the big thing about Ran that's just so hyper retarded is just how effortlessly he tends to get his def breaks a lot of the times. And straight up, let's just go ahead and talk about it, man. Why in the hell are every single stripper in this game just super, super OP? It's like they're all super fast, they get turn 1, they also strip, so immunity does jack fucking shit. It's like, I don't understand this. Like, what are you doing, SG? Because you can't combat that by, like, buffing the immunity set. Because could you imagine if they turned immunity into, like, say, I don't know, a blue buff or something? Because if they did that, I think it would have large ramifications. I would probably use it, and I probably wouldn't think too much about it, because then a lot of turn 1 strip and stuff like that would just be amazing, because you can't strip, like, full blue buffs. But, I mean, hey, whatever. I don't know what, like, SG is going to do about it. I straight up, I hate Ran. I hate everything about him. And I also really, really hate Rimuru. I mainly don't like Rimuru because he makes you, like, overthink your teams a lot of the times. Because he's a very simple character. Hey, you have buff? Okay, I hit you. I take buff. I give buff to team. And then whenever my S3 roll around, I do big hit that do big bit of damage. And then I also do 10k additive damage. Totally not OP. But, like, it's a very, very simple kit. But it's so annoying because of how much you have to think. Because, for example, a lot of you may or may not know this. I would assume you probably do. But his S3 isn't even, like, element advantage or advantageous, but he actually is element neutral on his S3. And only his S3. And it's only like that so he can hit any color that he wants. The only thing that can, quote, kind of counter it is evasion. And that's just because he has to hit for it to work. And it's so, so dumb. So you have to use a blue bait if you want to direct that damage. It must be a blue bait. Period. So anyway, yeah, on to the next match. So this was interesting because I wanted to use Arunka for this fight, but I could not do it. Now, the reason why I could not do it is because some of you may or may not know this, but Zio does not actually target the first character turn based on color. Like you would think. You would think, like, if you brought in a light unit, he'd hit the light unit. He doesn't do that. He actually hits the highest on the CR bar first. So, I don't recall if SG ever actually told us that, because that's like, those are Assassin Sid mechanics. But, like, hey, whatever. SG, just do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. But, so yeah, I couldn't bring Arunka, because Arunka is, like, slightly faster than my Pyllis. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll just tank down and I'll use Alencia. And it ends up working quite a bit. The only thing that was kind of, like, distressing about it is the same issue that I always have going into Senya with Alencia, is it takes a little longer. The Senya almost always has anti-crit. I can't do anything about it. I'm perma-provoke locked. I can't get rid of the provoke, so I can't strip. You know, it's a whole thing. It's a whole bunch of annoying shit. But, like, the really interesting thing is, before Pyllis was just doing, like, a little bit of, like, piddly cleansing, stuff like that, taking the brunt of the damage, also nerfing the damage that everybody's taking. But now, with Rocket Punch, even though I am not rocking damage at all in the slightest on my Pyllis, it's actually having an effect. So, yeah, I think right here, it ends up doing a fair bit of damage whenever I hit her. I hope I hit her, because I may or may not. Let me see here, what happens? Okay, I don't think I do. Yeah, the reason I don't is because I'm still trying to maintain, like, the healing that I have. And the way in which healing works with Roana, in case you're not paying attention, is anytime, like, a counterattack happens, it heals for a certain percentage of her max HP onto the entire party. And also, based on how many hits hit the entire party is what influences how much HP is given back. Straight up SG. I know you guys, like, absolutely despise healers, considering you've given us 3 fucking healers in the past, like, back-to-back, that all can't heal. But can we perhaps, I don't know, get another healer that's kind of like Roana? You don't even have to make it just like Roana. You could straight up just make it single target counterattacks result in heals. So then you could bring Roana into AoE counterattack shenanigans, and then you can bring in this new unit into single target counterattack shenanigans. And then, oh shit! Senya Choux is just dead. We never see it ever again. But yeah, right there. Like, Rocket Punch is straight up doing work. And I'm genuinely surprised. So, I'm very happy that it's doing a lot more damage than I initially expected, because whenever I first used it on the first match, I wasn't super thrilled about it. And also when I used it in Arena, it's really not that impressive, because with Arena, they don't tend to go as long as GuildWar fights sometimes. Sometimes Arena fights can go longer, and you never really want to be, like, in a state of just, like, kind of chilling and taking the hits in Arena, because lightning is a thing. Lightning, the stupidest fucking mechanic ever in, like, the history of fucking ever. I remember why it was there. It was to prevent, like, stalling out shit. But, like, some defenses that you fight are just so retarded now that, like, okay, cool, so I'm either going to cleave or I'm going to attempt to do some tank stuff and just straight up lose. But, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. So here I try it again with the Dark Corvus strat, and it would have worked, because, like I said, this Rand is not running RNL, it's running Silver Rain. And also with that, right here's the mistake. I actually thought I could perhaps survive long enough with that Death Break to, like, get to Momo's turn, and then Momo would heal, and then I'd be good to go. Lo and behold, there it is, Magic for Friends. Yay! I love Magic for Friends. So, it didn't kill Dark Corvus because I got really lucky that Mercedes didn't have max crit for some reason. But hey, now I have to revive one of those units, and then hey, there's Rand's turn. So now we have 2 dead units. So, what I ultimately go for, I didn't even actually aim this heal, which is bad, but it brings back Momo. So when it brings back Momo, I'm attempting to say, okay, so maybe I can possibly try to revive try to sustain myself until I can get Dark Corvus back, then I can kill Mercedes, and start working on Rimuru. Because as soon as I kill one of the DPSs on the top or the bottom, I can win this fight. But right here, so there's Momo. Momo's all, like, cleared out. And now here's Ruele. She's completely gassed. I'm totally gassed on healing now. And because of that, yeah, there's no hope of winning. So I give up in the next few turns, because right there, Ruele is actually dead in that frame. So, it's just the way it is. So here, I just resort to tried and true, like, Zahhak shenanigans. So the reason I didn't do it before on those other matches was straight up because I was afraid the Rand was, like, going to go crazy on me. Or that the Rimuru was going to be on damage. I really didn't know what I was getting into. But here, I have no risks. The reason why I have no risks is because Shinji has set up Zahhak perfectly. He can go in, kill the Mercedes, and the Mercedes is dead, not coming back. And then Rimuru will go into him, and he will not take invincibility, but he'll take the attack and the speed. Now, if it does or does not kill Krau, it doesn't really matter. So here, it didn't kill Krau because the Rimuru wasn't on damage. See, these are all things you have to just assume with Rimuru, and this is why I hate this fucking character. It's kind of like way back in the day when people were running degen and, like, full damage Arby's. You just have to guess. And a lot of the times, Rimuru is usually like on Proof of Valor, like you see here. But sometimes you'll see those scary ones like out of nowhere that are like on Proof that can do like 24 to like 25 to 30k damage or something like that on their S3s. And anytime you get those, like, yeah, they'll straight up murder your Kraus, which is really, really annoying. And right here is where I put like the ultimate test for Shadow Knight Pyllis. So the reason why this is an ultimate test is really just because this whole team was way faster. Like, the Choux and the Senya go before my other units do, and that's really my own fault right there. Because I always tend to forget that Lua can do speed buff on the other team. And sure, they were going to take that turn anyway, but now because of that, I'm in a very, very disadvantageous position. Mainly because Arunka is too fast. So I'm probably going to actually slow her down and like put more bulk on her or something. So she goes into Senya and she kills herself. So now we're down to just Pyllis and just Roana. But I looked at my odds here and I just thought to myself, I think I can still win. And I make an honest effort to go for it, because this truly doesn't look hopeless. And the main reason it's not hopeless is, well, one, the other team doesn't have any sustain. I'm the only one with sustain here. And two, Rocket Punch is doing work. So, like, right here. This ultimately kills the Senya. But, like, right there, that was, like, just 3k just extra damage. Because, and the reason why I think Rocket Punch is working so well against Senya and Choux is because those are not tanky units. Well, not tanky in the same sense of you would build a support tanky, like to have a lot of defense and to have a lot of HP like a support unit would. The reason why they're kind of fragile, even though they're big bruisery kind of tanks, is they have bloated HP stats, but they have to divulge like all of their other stats into, for Senya, it has to be attack. It's either attack or effectiveness or both. So she doesn't have a lot of defense. And any good Senya is probably going to be somewhere around the 16s to the 18Ks. But like every other stat is going to be into offensive capabilities. So she will ultimately take a fair bit of damage from Rocket Punch. And Choux is actually the same way. Because everybody like makes their Choux hyper bloat on HP. And then they have like 100% crit and somewhere like in the 200 range or like 250, so like somewhere around like plus 100 crit damage, and you are really, really good on your Choux. So like, let's look real quick. So yeah, this is a 22k Choux, and that's like kind of standard. Like that's really, really standard for a Choux. I've seen some really, really ridiculous ones. Like I've seen one Choux that was posted somewhere. Like yeah, right there, that's just like almost 5k. So good. And keep in mind, my Shadow Knight is not running any damage whatsoever. This is a support Shadow Knight, and I really wish I could put more effect resist on her. And I do have a plan for her in the future if I fight a Lua Senya Choux team again. But like I was saying before, I did actually see one Choux in the past. I personally haven't fought it. I'm very glad I didn't. But there was one that was 40k HP. And guess what? It also had like, I think it had 100% crit, or it had no crit and no crit damage. And it was still doing the same amount of damage that like you would see for a normal like crit damage build one. So to that response, I simply say, hey SG, do you think your math is fucked or something? Because that shouldn't be a thing. Like, if you just have one stat on your character, you straight up shouldn't be as good as like any of these like spread stats. But now, like I was saying about a strategy I was having, I'm actually thinking about maybe building Christie. And I would have the team be Christie, Roana, and Shadow Knight Pyllis if I'm going into like Lua shenanigans, like a Lua Senya Choux. Sure, it will be very slow, but I do honestly believe it will probably be immensely safe. Like, no threat whatsoever. Because to those of you who can't remember what Christie does, she gives half of her ER to whoever's in the back row. And if you're rocking 2 grass units, then Shadow Knight in the back row, you'll gain the benefits of Roana's barrier that's always going to go to the back row, or whoever's the lowest on health. And then she'll also have that extra ER, so you can do like a little bit of cleansing, stuff like that, and then you won't ever really like truly be fucked by the Lua. So yeah, and that's pretty much the Guild War. Yeah, I hope you really enjoyed it. And there's Pyllis right there. So yeah, that is strictly just support. And she did, like, a fair bit of damage. The only thing that sucks was I was really wanting to use that with Arunka, because Arunka, like, as much as we all meme on her and everything, Arunka actually does a fair bit of damage, but the only reason why is because of Ubras's Tooth. I really, really wish that she didn't need Ubras's Tooth to even, like, be a remote threat, but them's the breaks. That's just kind of how it is. So hopefully she'll get a buff some point in time. I don't know. She needs, like, a little something. Hopefully we'll get, like, something the next, like, round of buffs that come out, because, like, these last ones, straight up, I just didn't care. It was just stuff for, like, cleave people, especially, like, if you liked Euphine, if you liked honest to God, I can't even remember the rest. I know, like, Sez got one where he just straight up his whole fucking kit changed. But yeah, that's, like, really all I got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed the Guild War. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you have anything to tell me, please leave it in the comments. I do read it, and sometimes I respond. Please like and subscribe. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Later. Bye.